another episode of the Backlog Breakdown, a video game podcast where we seek to encourage and equip the church to engage the medium wisely and responsibly. I'm your host, Josh, and with me today is my co-host. He's also my brother in Christ, Nate.
Mm-hmm. It's me.
Hey, Nate. How you
I
doing?
am Nate.
You
You're
are
Josh.
Nate, and I am Josh, and we're here bringing you another episode of the podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about the Switch exclusive. This Platinum Games made this game on the Nintendo Switch. Apparently, Nintendo helped not just publish the game, but funded some of it because it is very intertwined with Nintendo here. It's not been released on anything else. But Astral Chain, for those of you who have not seen the thumbnail or read the title, you already know that. But anyways, if this just played next on your feed, we're talking Astral Chain today. Which is going to be a fun little talk. It's been sitting on our top 100 list for a little bit since I played it, but this is actually a patron pick, and so wanted to make sure this went to kind of the top of our lists this year, and it only took us till September to play through it. But anyways, more on Astral Chain later. Before we get there, we've got some opening forms that we would like to inform you of, and the first of which is just a general catch up from the last time that we had an episode. So Nate, in the undisclosed amount of time since we last talked, how are you doing?
Play the soundbite.
What are you talking about?
Play the soundbite.
It's been
an undisclosed amount of time since we last spoke.
Yeah.
I need to just get a soundboard for my side of
your
this.
own. Yes, you do, because there's another song that's coming up later in the podcast that has not been updated.
Oh no!
Just yet.
Did you get did you get the Suno AI slop that I sent you?
Yes, but it just hit me while the theme was playing. Yeah. That's why I sat back in my chair of like, oh, I forgot to do that. So this will be the last episode.
Did you think either one of those was like okay / usable?
I don't know. I didn't actually listen to them.
Oh.
I had every intention to.
I took all that time.
You did.
To craft that AI tripe. And I sent it to you.
Still have to use this.
You did. Couldn't be bothered to take.
I failed you for the last time, Commander.
I mean, it's definitely not the last time you're gonna fail me.
No, it's not. Not even the last time on this episode.
No, probably not. Probably not. Dude, just kind of been grinding along, man.
Yeah.
Just kind of
feel you.
Nothing major really.
Okay.
Just Byron has like he got like a head cold that kind of turned into an earache / ear infection. So that was fun.
Oh, poor guy.
But yeah. But it's just we're just kind of grinding along. Haven't just kind of been working a fair amount. Megan's back in school. Our puppy Asher is getting pretty big. I was actually telling you, like, he drinks like all the water. Like when we put water out, he's just like, dude, I brought him in tonight and he sat by the water bowl, and like normally dog goes over, drinks like a little bit and then like walks away. He just laid down in front of it and just stuck his face in it and was like yeah. And I was like, dude, like we do give you water the rest of the like throughout the day, but he was like, no, I'm gonna drink all of it right now. But
nice.
But yeah, we're just kind of chilling, and nothing cool. Major, kind of just yeah.
Sweet. Nice.
What about you? How have you guys been? How has the Broccolo tribe been?
Yeah, so family in general, we're doing well. Yeah, no major things to talk about there. We're doing good. We're not going full force into returning to school until next week. Although I will say, this weekend, as of recording, so I guess this past weekend after this is released, my son, our oldest, is turning 10, getting out of those single digits, which is crazy to think about. So that's fun.
Digits.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So well, I'll use that as a segue. Is that so? A buddy of ours, him and his family, they bought, and he's owned a few houses, and he does the whole, not just real estate thing, but he works for his dad, who owns a bunch of properties, and so he does property maintenance and all kinds of stuff. Anyways, goes deep. Anyways, but he has, I think, 2 or 3 houses right now, and so he rents out a couple of them. Well, he acquired a bunch of, I think it's like 10 acres in a house, that's like outside of town as you're heading towards Des Moines, and it's an old house, and he's stretching a little in order to do it, but it's going to be like his forever house for him and his family. And it's got like a pond on the property, and so he can do tons of stuff with all the acreage, and get animals and grow stuff and all kinds of stuff. So he's got some big plans there. Super cool stuff. House is really old, and so he's basically gutting it and remodeling the whole thing. I don't think there's any major, like knocking down walls or anything like that, but pulling up trim, carpets, like everything, and redoing everything. So I've gone out a couple times and helped him. Well, I went and took Ollie because, he's almost 10 years old. So I figure, like, okay, I want to help my buddy out. And so I'm going to bring my son, teach him that we should help people out. And so he came with me, and since my friend couldn't pay him in beer like he did with me, by handing me a beer immediately upon arrival, afterwards he called my son over and he was like, "Hey, I was going to give this to your dad, but you can have it instead." And he gave him a $20 bill, and Ollie's just like in shock, like,
Dude,
"Oh, that's
$20 at that
awesome."
age is like,
Yeah,
that's like the
exactly.
jackpot.
I mean, it's not like $20 when you were a kid. Unfortunately, inflation is kind of crazy, but it was still, for like 2 hours of work of pulling up
Are you saying I'm
floor
old?
tax. Like, what's that? No, I'm
Are
saying
you
that our
inferring
money,
that I'm old?
I'm saying that
Implying?
inflation is crazy, man. That's all that I'm saying. But
I think
it
you
is
just
certainly like that is a bunch of money for 2 hours of work. Yeah, that he was paid very well. And so then come Sunday, I'm talking with my friend, and he's like, "Hey, if you guys want to come back, I'll hire Ollie to continue, working." And he said he'd pay him $7 an hour. So we went earlier this evening, and lo and behold, after the 2 hours, he just hands him another 20. And so Ollie's like, "Awesome." He's got these ideas of things. He's a good saver, but he's got a Lego set that he wants to get. So he's saving up for that, which is pretty cool. So anyways, I've rambled on far too long, but we're doing good. There's just some, stuff like that going on. That's life. That's how we go. But that's how we've been since the last time recorded. Our next form that we always, get to is where we get to share some of our other experiences with media. So let's do that.
We hit record and let it roll, trading stories like Pokemon. Laughing loud till the mics might break. In this where we're making no mistakes. SP share, we'll level it up. Life's an adventure, we can't get enough. From Meridian to College Square, we're throwing together with XP Share.
XP Share, where we are sharing some of our experiences with media. So we've got some media that we've brought to the table, just that we've enjoyed in the past, since the past episode. So what experiences do you want to share, Nate?
I really only have like one. I've just kind of been listening to some podcasts and stuff, but I think the one that, like, not even a podcast, but I started listening to Stephen King's The Stand again, and King is like one of those guys. Like, it's kind of, it's tough to talk about him because, like, he's a really proficient writer, and I think The Stand is one of his better pieces of work.
Oh yeah, it's highly regarded for sure.
Highly regarded. And I'm listening to like the extended, like basically when it was published originally. There was a whole bunch of stuff that was actually like edited out, and some of it was just for like it wasn't the narrative wasn't as tight as maybe Stephen wanted it to be, but some of it was just like for the sake of the publisher. And
like a lower page
anyways, so a while back there was this sort of unedited version that was released, and or this, like, basically a lot of that stuff had been put back in, not all of it, but a good bit of it.
Okay.
So this is an even longer version than the normal version, but it's kind of interesting. And all I'm going to say is, like, especially post COVID, reading The Stand or listening to The Stand is really pretty alarming.
Okay.
Just like it's weird, like echoes in reality. I think the other thing is that as a father with a child, there are some scenes that he has written that were really kind of tough and like kind of busted me up a little bit. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Ouch.
that is the one piece of media that I have been into.
Cool. Nice. Well, the stuff that I have, I think I can get through it pretty quickly. The first thing that I have to bring to the table is a book that I listened to, kind of a short-ish book, but it's called Productivity by Douglas Wilson. Wilson can be a controversial figure. Productivity is about productivity. But then obviously kind of like plodding along in that, using your time wisely. And even if you have some disagreements with him, I think it would be very difficult to argue that he does not accomplish quite a lot, considering that he started a Christian school, he started a college, he blogs, he writes books, he preaches, and I guess he kind of started a denomination as well. There's that. So
yeah,
he's done a lot in his lifetime. And I would say that, his skill level, at least in writing, is pretty high. So anyways, you don't have to, take or leave him, but I was interested in what he had to say about productivity. And I appreciated his take on it because it is a fairly short book. But it starts off by it basically has a theology of work and how we are made to work the way that a tree grows and brings forth fruit, rather than the way that a machine is to always constantly work and you just oil the machine and have it continuously going. I thought that was a very apt analogy. So you have seasons. God has made you to do different things and to be faithful where you are planted, as opposed to kind of a very modern, I say modern idea, but I guess that's since, the Industrial Revolution, of man as machine. And so if we just kind of tinker some things, then we can constantly be running all the time. And that's not the case, because that's not how we were made. So anyways.
No, that's pretty good, man. I like that, because I do think that hold on one second here. I'm just confirming my purchase. It's currently $5 on Audible.
There you go. Nice.
So that's kind of cool.
Good.
And Wilson's Wilson's kind of like a take it or leave it guy. I'm mostly there's a good bit of Wilson that I'm like, leave.
Sure.
But yeah, you can't sort of undersell like what he has accomplished. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, he does not bring it up until the very end of the book, which after he goes like epilogue stuff, like, post thing that where he's like, the publisher had me write this, so let me list out the things that I've done. And that's when it hit me like, oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. He's and I actually appreciate this sort of like just even that call. like to say like, hey, you're not a machine, because I do think like the modern sort of approach to
Mhm.
productivity is to sort of like is to almost sort of turn yourself, is to turn a person into a machine.
Mhm.
And it's like, dude, we're not. Like we're just not. And I'm kind of interested in that.
Nice.
I
Yeah.
actually really appreciate Reagan Rose in that
Yes.
same
Yeah.
vein, because I think
Mhm.
like that he sort of would probably like, you do want to maximize things and you want to be efficient,
Mhm.
but it's getting things done is not. Yeah, we're not machines, we're not meant to be machines.
Mhm.
And yeah, you are have seasons, and you are going to have seasons. And I think part of
Mhm.
it is because and this is just the one thought that I've always had, is that since the Industrial Revolution, because you have like artificial lighting and everything else, all of the
Mhm.
normal rhythms that people would sort of fall into, like they're gone now.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
everything is like, and now you have to sort of like, you actually have to like build that stuff back in. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
now it's time to go to bed. Now it's time to like, yeah. So I always appreciate those kind of voices. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. I
Yeah.
like that.
And I guess maybe that's also in the back of my mind is Reagan Rose. His measurement, his goal is, or at least he calls people to faithfulness
Hmm.
rather than the amount of things that you can get done. Is, are you being faithful in the things that God has called you to? Which I
Yeah,
think
his
is a
emphasis
great
on,
way of looking at it.
are you being a wise steward of your time?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So that was the first thing. The second thing is another book that I've been reading. I got a trial for Kindle Unlimited, and it had gone a month and I hadn't even touched it. So I was like, oh, I need to actually. It's like 3 months long. So
Mm.
I was like, I need to actually read a book. So I picked up. I've never read this author before. His name is Graham Greene. Apparently, he was a Catholic writer, Roman Catholic, and I picked up. I was just like Google searching what his best works were, and so I picked up a book called "The Power and the Glory" by Graham Greene, which is it is fiction, but it is set during an actual time period. I didn't know this, but there was a time period in Mexico's history under kind of a communist kind of regime where the state of Mexico was persecuting the Catholic Church, and was actually I don't know if it was straight up killing. I believe so. But Catholic priests, like they didn't want him in there anymore. And so main character is a Catholic priest trying to get out. He was actually British or European. He's a Catholic priest sent to Mexico, and he's trying to get out of Mexico while also, and he's a flawed character. He's actually referred to as the whiskey priest because he's got his taste for whiskey. And while he's trying to leave, there's, through this trek, there's people coming up to him that kind of know that he's a priest. And so they're asking him to perform different rites. And so it's this struggle of trying to leave, but also still trying to uphold, what he had been living for
Yeah.
as a priest. And there's even a line in the book. I'm only 3 chapters in, I think, at this point, where he mentions how he has the power. He has this special power to turn bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ. This is Catholic theology,
Hmm.
through transubstantiation. And so he wants to take that seriously. So if someone, these poor Mexican people are asking, to perform communion, like he can't just dismiss that for the sake of his own safety. So anyways, he's wrestling with these things as he's trying to flee the country because he's one of the last few um, Catholic priests. So anyways, that's the setting. I'm not very far into it, but it is very well written. It's the well written where the guy, he is very good with words, and you have to be paying attention because otherwise you will miss the metaphors, or he uses some strange metaphors, and so it's like, oh, what did he mean by that? I need to stop and think about that for a second, you know.
Mm.
But It's good. It's very good. So again, but only a few chapters in for that one. Last thing that I will recommend, and this is very different, so hard, hard turn here, is a tokusatsu show. The newest series of Kamen Rider is currently coming out. It's Kamen Rider Zets, and I watched the first episode, and it was really cool. It's bonkers. It does seem to be a little bit more towards play into a little bit more kiddiness than some of the other Kamen Riders that I've seen. Maybe that's just a modern Kamen Rider versus older Kamen Rider that was geared more towards adults. But it's bonkers. There's all this weird stuff about dreams, stuff happening in dreams, or was it really a dream? And anyways, it's a fun time. So watch the first episode of that, and I think the second one probably already came out at this point. So you need to pick that back up. But Kamen Rider Zets, that's fun.
Cool.
Anyways,
Cool.
those are the experiences with media that I've had over the past, couple of weeks. But we are a video game podcast. We like to talk about video games. Nate, what video games have you been playing?
Mostly just Astral Chain and Dragon Quest Builders, and I know
Cool.
we're going to be talking about Astral Chain, but I actually still haven't beaten it. Actually, like 5 minutes before we hopped on this recording, I was on the last fight.
Okay.
And I was just like, can I make this happen? And I was just like, I'm just not even going to try and force it. So yeah, I was on the very last boss of the game. Apparently, I mean that's what you told me.
I confirmed it.
you confirmed that.
Yes.
I assumed it was.
Yeah.
So I haven't beaten that yet. I haven't beaten Dragon Quest Builders yet. It's kind of like it's just been one of those weeks where it's been a couple of weeks where I just haven't spent a lot of time playing.
Sure.
Which would have meant no change for my score, but something came out, and something I could not resist the siren song of Silk Song. And I was like, so I picked it up, and you know what, like, is insane. And it's just like, it's kind of like, it's a testament to my psychosis. Like, I got Silk Song and I was like, hey, you know what? I've been meaning to go back and play through Hollow Knight. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to play through Hollow Knight before I play Silk Song. So I'm like, I'm a crazy person. And then we just had that Nintendo Direct, and we kind of like, we haven't talked about that, but like Hades 2 got a confirmation date.
Yeah.
Like it's coming out in like
next
at the
week.
time of, like, yeah, at the time of this recording, like a week and a half from now. And I'm like internal shrieking has just like commenced. And I was actually talking to Parker a little bit about this, and I was like, I just need these people to stop. Like, on one hand, I'm like, yes, give me all these games, because like the same weird psychosis is like, hey, yeah, I pretty much like 100%ed like Hades. Now I didn't do that with Silk Song on Switch, but it's like I pretty much like 100%ed Hades on Switch. I should play it on PlayStation before I play Hades 2. And I'm like,
Plat. Yeah.
I'm like, I am a crazy person. Like, there's something deeply wrong here. I don't know if I'll do either one of those things.
Sure.
But I'm just saying, like, the inclination is there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I picked up Silk Song, which puts my score at -3. But yeah, I haven't beaten anything. Aside from Astral Chain, I just really haven't played a ton, which I do need to get sort of cracking here. Like, I was telling you, I think tomorrow, here in the next couple of days, I'm going to try and actually just finish Astral Chain before, I would like to beat it. And we'll talk more about it before I jump into Earth Defense Force, whichever one I'm going to play, and Dredge, because those are going to be our Spooktober games, but we're not talking about those yet. We'll be talking about them in the nearest future. But yeah. So,
well, yeah, I think actually we can talk about that for a bit, just because it is, as of release. It is the end of September, and so you have about a month until spooky times at the end of October. So our Spooktober game is Dredge, and is it Earth Defense Force as well? Is that also
Earth
that's
Defense
the
Force
B
is just like
movie?
it's more like flavor. So the like next full episode is going to be Earth Defense Force. Hopefully we're going to be able to get Turkey on for that one.
Mhm.
We have to I have to get back to him to confirm scheduling and everything else.
Sure.
But yeah, so Earth Defense Force is next. And I just thought that it was kind of like it's a different vibe, but it does feel like, like feels like B grade sort of like sci-fi kind of like Attack of the Giant Killer Ants kind of thing. Cause like Earth
Mhm.
Defense Force is like big bugs and aliens and stuff. And so like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought like that's kind of a fun vibe.
Yep. And those are going to be our next couple episodes. Earth Defense Force and Dredge. So if you would like to play them as well as you're listening, we'd love even, I was going to say your feedback, but what's it called before you do the episode? Anyways, your thoughts on the games.
Your
and
thoughts,
we might
commentary,
read them on
questions,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can talk about it as we're playing through it on the Discord if you'd like to do that, or just send us your thoughts and we can talk about those on those future episodes. But do want to just make that announcement. Start playing it now and let us know as you continue through it, because we're going to start playing them now so that we can have them done in time for these episodes. So with that, I have been playing a bit of Dredge, and it's fun. It's a fun little fishing game. I get it uses similar mechanics. Well, not even mechanics, but it feels very familiar, I will say, in terms of just the nuts and bolts of, okay, go out, fish, come back, sell your fish, upgrade stuff on your boat. Like that kind of loop. I've played that in a bunch of games, and it's good. Like it's just it's good. And so there's that. But the spookiness is pretty cool because I like spooky things. And it does make me very wary. Like I don't want to go out on the water when it's dark outside because there's some
Sometimes I
stuff that
don't
just
really want to
pops
go out
up.
on the water. Like I've got a few hours into Dredge. Like I had fired it up earlier in the year.
Cool.
And sometimes I just don't want to go out in the water, period.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I'm
there
like,
are moments where, you catch a fish and like, oh, it has like 16 eyes. This is odd.
like why are there extra teeth just growing out of this one? Yeah.
This fish also has tentacles. Huh. I don't like this.
What's that weird like tumor thing just popping off?
Right.
That guy. Yep.
All kinds of stuff. So I'm all that to say is just that I'm enjoying it. I think it's good. So I'm stoked to play that as our spooky game. So there is Dredge. You mentioned Silk Song. I've not yet bought it, but I need to buy it because I want to support Team Cherry. I did, however, in my last few days of game. Well, no, actually, that's a lie. It was the day that it came out, so I had a bit more on Game Pass. But I played maybe an hour of the game because it was day one Game Pass, and it's good. It's really good. I'm fine with kind of putting it off for now, knowing that it's really good. I mean, the start of any Metroidvania is going to start you off kind of slow because you don't have all your powers and all that stuff. So it does start that way, but it feels good. And it's also like, oh yeah, I remember Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight was good. And Hornet feels a little different than your little Hollow Knight does, but it's good. And that's really all I have to say about it right now. It's killing it in the review scores and stuff like that. It seems like it's everything that we've been waiting for it to be, which is more Hollow Knight, and in a lot of ways probably better. It seems like some of the traversal stuff is even better. It seems like a bigger world. So whether that's better or not, that's up to you to decide. But it seems at least on par with the original Hollow Knight. So I'm stoked to sometime be able to play it, probably next year. But
yeah,
it's
currently sitting at a 92 on OpenCritic.
Cool. It's quite good.
it's quite good. It did get one VGC gave it a 3 stars out of 5, and that's the lowest. Everybody
Okay.
else is like 8, 9, or 10 sort of
Mm-hmm.
range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have been sort of paying attention to some of the commentary about it too. It's like there's already been a patch to sort of address some difficulty.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
Odd.
and the one thing I heard is that like basically like people are like, yeah, there's kind of like it definitely feels like this was just meant to be DLC. Like you can tell
Okay.
because of like the way it's like it kind of just the game almost, and this is kind of why I was like, I want to go back and play Hollow Knight before I play Silksong, because it's like the game sort of like does feel like coming, like do you know what I'm saying, where it's like they almost have like the expectation that you're just kind of coming off of Hollow Knight. It's like
Okay.
it's some
Yeah.
like that, and I saw that in a few reviews and some of the thoughts of like people who played the game. I'm super stoked for it though.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous though, and you and I have talked about this. Is just like because it is kind of like hardcore, and Hollow Knight was kind of
Yeah.
hardcore.
Right.
And there's a part of me
Yep.
that's just like, I just don't know if I have like that. Like it's gonna have to, yeah. It kind of just raises this question, like, am I going to, like, is it gonna sort of like bait the hook enough for me to like really go down the rabbit hole? We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Is that flame still there? Is it still burning, or is it,
Yeah. Am I hungry enough?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
good stuff. Other game that I had been playing, so my Game Pass subscription ended, but I did finish the first act of Expedition 33. So Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So I'm maybe 9-ish hours into the game and finished that act. Some surprising stuff happens at the end of the first act. And it's hard to talk about without, giving any kind of spoilers. I will say I'm still pretty lost as to what the world is, but it's really cool. So there is, see, I was going to say there's no revelations, but that's not completely true. There are lots of riddles that are aimed at revelations. Does that make sense? So it seems like it's giving you breadcrumbs without actually telling you the contours of this world that you're in. So even at the end of Act 1, but again, that's like 9-ish hours in. It's fine. It's enough to keep you going for sure, because it's a cool game. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, and it's like you've met Esquier, who's like just he's so much fun.
Yeah,
like it's, I don't know, he's such a cool part of that game.
He's odd, but he seems good-natured for sure. He's not a character that's like, oh, are you sure about his real motives, kind of a thing. And he's got some banter with a character at the end of the first act, a character that shows up at the end of the first act. I'll put it that way, because again, trying not to give any spoilers here, that hints towards some more revelations as well, because they have a history. So anyways, there's, yeah. So he is very good-natured, but he does seem to be doing things to try and guide, at least push people in certain directions, but in a good-natured way, not in a pulling the strings of the puppet master. No, just like, hey, we should go do this kind of thing. Anyways, let's
go.
Yeah, you're right. I need to find my rocks.
Yeah.
His voice acting is really good. By and large, the whole game, the voice acting is really good. Yeah. Performances are good as well. So, dig the game, but because Game Pass has ended, setting it down for now to be picked up at a later date. So that's all that I have been playing. Not too much. Haven't finished anything. but started. I say started a few things. I'm not going to continue in Silksong either, but Dredge I will be continuing in. So my current beatdown score still remains at -10 for the time being.
And for anybody who's like, hey, what's this beatdown thing? What are the numbers, et cetera, it's it's a meta that we run all year long. Essentially, you buy games, you take points, like you add points, you play and beat games, you subtract points. It's like, think of your backlog as a pile of games, like a literal sort of pile. And you're sort of deleting numbers from that. That's in theory kind of how it works. But yeah, if you're interested in the rules, we have those over on our Discord. Other things that you might be interested in, it's us, it's this podcast. We have a patron or a Patreon, and we have patrons. we have one, at least one patron. We have several. We have a couple. We have a few. And for as little as $1 a month, if you like what we're doing here and you want to go a little bit above and beyond, you want to do more than just the sharing and caring, you want to do more than the like, subscribe, rate, and review kind of thing. Like, and if you haven't done that stuff, like, please do. We'd appreciate that. That'd be really cool. But if you have done all those things and you're looking for a way to go a little bit above and beyond, for as little as $1 a month, we have a Patreon, and you get early and uncut access to each and every episode. Patrons get a little bit more access to us. We actually just sort of added, like, sort of a new perk. I don't know, but our patrons actually get access to, they can see our schedule, our calendar for the year. And sort of, we have a document that we have sort of like, we use to brainstorm and stuff. And so they can see that, they can comment on that. Yeah. So they have a little more access to us. They get special roles in our Discord servers. Again, the early and uncut access to each and every episode. They also get, there's an exclusive podcast just for them that is mostly sort of follows a pretty similar cadence to, our regular episodes, except for when, when we need to sort of reschedule things, or we don't want to be up till 3 a.m. So yeah. But they also each, this is a patron game. Unfortunately, the patron who picked it, Dorian, he couldn't join us tonight, but he did pick the game. And like, if you become a patron, each and every patron has the opportunity to nominate a game for us to play through, or a topic for us to discuss, and join us on that episode. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, the link will be in the show notes. So yeah, check that out. But lastly, but certainly not leastly, we have some friends that we've partnered with in the Playwell Network. These are guys who are dedicated to exploring just entertainment and how to engage entertainment wisely and well. So we like their stuff. We like them. Here's a word from one of them.
Sit down, shut up, and listen to this.
No, you can't make me. I hate sitting down. But what is this magic I'm hearing?
Huh? Never heard it, you say? That be nothing new under the porch. It sure is wacky, kind of life-changing, and hardly worth taking serious. I don't really know how to describe it. Wait, are you crying?
I call it beautiful.
You got that right, kid. Now you stand there and listen to the beautiful, wacky, and life-changing show on video games, satire, and theology, or I'm gonna keep on repeating myself and this ad won't end.
I'll never stop listening to it.
Okay, well, your call. Make sure to subscribe and whatever. My job is done. I'm out of here.
And we're back. So tonight this morning, whatever time you're listening to this, we're going to...
Right now,
in your ears. Yeah. How about them apples? We're going to be talking about Astral Chain.
Apples and ears.
Apples and ears. That would be uncomfortable, actually.
Unpleasant.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Certainly.
like a full apple in your ear.
I mean, even if you cut it up, it would still be unpleasant. But regardless, that has absolutely nothing to do with Astral Chain on the Nintendo Switch.
That might draw bugs. Like if you didn't get all the apple out of your ear.
That's true. Yeah. And that would just be annoying, hearing a buzzing sound constantly in the ears.
It's all like whenever you open your mouth.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's exactly how I feel every
time. And yet you
talk.
Started a podcast with me. You are unceremoniously chained to me to do a podcast every couple of weeks.
My pain is legion.
Nice.
Oh,
I like
boy.
It.
I hate that I just did that.
I hate the way that you are. Anyways, yes, Astral Chain is the game that we're talking about today, made by Platinum Games. I should have looked this up. I can't remember when exactly it was released. What was it, like 5 years ago, 2020, something like that? I know it wasn't too long ago.
Good
2019 action-adventure game developed by Platinum Games and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, Platinum Games is known for other games. They made Nier Automata. They did the mechanics of Nier Automata. Nier is Yoko Taro, that whole series, but Platinum had a big hand in making that. They made the world-renowned Star Fox Zero for the Wii U. But no, they're well known for their hack and slash games. They did under Capcom, they did Beautiful Joe, but it's kind of those same people made Platinum Games. They made the Bayonetta series. They made Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. They made Vanquish, I want to say.
Yes.
What else? There's another big one.
Nier.
Nier, but they also did the Wonderful 101. Sorry, that's not a big game. It was just big to me. Like, I've played it. And I think there's a good amount of similarities. There's a good amount of similarities between that game and this game, even though they are drastically different in tone. So
there, as just sole efforts from them, Bayonetta and Nier Automata, Vanquish, and the Wonderful 101. But they have done they've done some partnering work with other companies. But like those 4 games, those are sort of their chief titles.
Okay.
And they have done other things. Well, they did this.
I know they've done other license games as well.
Oh, here's Mad World, Bayonetta, Vanquish.
That's right.
Mad World was a game that I always wanted to play, never did. Anarchy Reigns, Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance, The Wonderful 101, Bayonetta 2. They did The Legend of Korra and Transformers Devastation. I played Transformers Devastation. It was fine, and that's about all I can say about it. Star Fox Zero, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan, Nier Automata, Astral Chain, World of Demons, Soul Cresta, Babylon's Fall. Oh, yeah. We don't want to talk about that. Bayonetta 3, Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. They're actually responsible for Ninja Gaiden 4. Ooh.
Interesting.
Just came out. That's pretty cool. But yeah, they've done some stuff. Like they did some work on Metal Gear Solid Delta, Snake Eater, that just came out, Final Fantasy 16, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. So yeah, they've been around for a while, and it's like you did allude to the fact that they had previously existed as a company. They were previously part of a company called Clover, which was a studio developed by Capcom. It was sort of an internal studio, and we got Okami. Beautiful Joe came out of that. I feel like there was a couple other pieces, but eventually Clover was shuttered, and Platinum kind of came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get too into the weeds on this.
Sure.
But Shinji Mikami was like one of the big names there.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the
Hideki
other
Kamiya
one?
was
Hideki
another big one.
Kamiya. Yeah.
Which
Shinji
I don't think he's with them anymore. I think he's moved on.
I don't think either one of them are
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Shinji was with Tango Gameworks, and then he left
That's
a few
right.
years ago and he's got a new studio called Kamui.
Oh, interesting.
Kamuy. But Shinji was like, he was responsible for like God Hand and Vanquish. Also like The Evil Within, the
Right.
original
Yeah.
Resident Evil. And Hideki Kamiya was Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry, Beautiful Joe, Okami, Bayonetta, and The Wonderful 101 were some of his big things.
Yeah.
So, and actually, oh, dude, yeah. Hideki Kamiya is actually part of the studio Clovers.
Okay, that's right, for the newer Okami game, the sequel that's coming out. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'd say in terms of Astral Chain, I think his repertoire is felt throughout Astral Chain, simply because he was at the hand of these character action games, like you talked about Devil May Cry, and like I mentioned, Wonderful 101. I see some crossover there with the type of game that's being made there. So I believe he was supervisor or something like that, maybe producer or something. I know he was overseeing Astral Chain. From what I understand is that there were actually a lot of younger guns at the helm for this game. That one of someone who had a position on Nier Automata, I want to say like the combat director or something like that, actually directed Astral Chain. Unfortunately, that person, who I've also read, I can't remember his name, but he has moved on from Platinum Games, and so who knows about the possible sequel, which is really a shame, because as we get more into talking about this game, Astral Chain, I think a sequel could be very. I think it
The
could be a
sequel
really
is still
great game.
technically. So I had seen something about that actually not too long ago, and I did just pull it up. It is currently Astral Chain 2 is still listed as being in development. There's no confirmed release date. There was some problems, and I think it was rebooted in 2023. So it is rumored to possibly release on the Switch 2, but development has faced significant challenges. So there are some, there are some rumors saying that it could come out next year, but that's all. It's all kind of like there's
Rumors.
nothing. We don't have anything solid on it. Yeah, we don't have it. It's all rumors. It's all speculation. It's all kind of like, but yeah. So, which is kind of interesting because and we'll get into this, but this game is on our top 100 list. Should probably pull that up.
Right now, it's currently sitting at number 79, which
Okay, so
honestly, that's higher than I had thought that it was on there. But
that's not that high. That's
no,
still
it's a
sort of
bottom quarter,
yeah,
bottom 25. But yeah,
and after playing it, I have some thoughts. So we will get into that. Well, let's just get into it now. Let's sort of talk like some high level stuff.
Yeah.
Platinum is known for their action. Like that's pretty much what the really the standout, like Bayonetta, Nier Automata. I would say Astral Chain. Like they do character action games, and it's kind of like Vanquish, and that's kind of where they excel. And I think what's really interesting about Astral Chain is that it is an attempt to, it asks a question of the character action game. It's like, you kind of, you have probably your high water marks, like your top shelf stuff in like the Devil May Cry series.
Mm-hmm.
But and Platinum kind of like brings their own, like, I think Bayonetta is no slouch. I mean, the only reason like I can't in good conscience recommend it is because it's very provocative.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
and it doesn't need to be,
Right.
but what's kind of interesting about Astral Chain is that it's a character action game, and it has this kind of it's almost like twin stick, or sort of like kind of 2-player, like it's kind of like, what if you were playing a character action game but you could control 2 characters at once,
Mm-hmm.
which I think mostly works, but to some mixed success.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where I think it's pretty good. And overall, and I'll sort of, we can talk about this a little bit later, but it just sort of upfront, I think this is a really good game. I think also that if they had sort of, but it's got a lot of rough edges. And I think if they
Mm-hmm.
had taken some time to polish this thing a little bit more, which actually makes the prospects of having an Astral Chain 2 really enticing. But
Right.
I feel like if they had polished this, it wouldn't be merely good. It'd be pretty stinking great. As is, it's really good, and it's kind of a should play. Like, I think the parts where it sings, it's really, really good. And the parts where it stumbles, they aren't big enough stumbles that they're not big enough to ruin the experience. They're just kind of like, that was a swing and a miss, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But, and again, it keeps it from being truly great, which is kind of a bummer, because it's like that kind of seems actually to be Platinum's MO for the most part. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, it's like they're really good and they're really close to being great, but they never really quite hit great, with the exception of Nier Automata,
Mm-hmm.
or Automata. Yeah, however we want to say that.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
automata, because it's automaton is one, so automata would be multiple. It's definitely automata.
you sure?
Anyways, I'll die on that hill.
You'll die on that hill?
I'll die on that hill in terms of English pronunciation. It should definitely be automata. It's not automata. It's like an automaton. It's multiple automatons, so it is automata. Yeah. Anyways,
you keep going.
okay.
I'm looking this up.
I will do that. Yeah, but in terms of, that does seem to be Platinum's MO. Again, Bayonetta seems to be their high watermark for these types of action games in the style of Devil May Cry. However, again, like you said, I can't recommend the games. I actually haven't finished any of them because they're a little embarrassing to play, because of all the sexualization within the game, which is just a shame. So I haven't played Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. Maybe that would be another high watermark, although I've heard it's a short game, so maybe that's the issue there. Love Wonderful 101, but I recognize that it is a flawed game as well. And again, I think it parallels this one a lot, which we will get into in just a moment. Before we get there, I guess basic overall impressions.
It is Automata.
Yes, exactly. I would agree with you that there are some issues with the game. Yeah, there are things holding it back from being truly great. However, when I step back and I think about games on Switch, and especially these types of action games, and even think of Platinum's catalog, I think this one does rise to the top, because of its action. While I think there are things that hold it back, Nier is on a slightly different level, because again, to me, that's kind of Yoko Taro and Platinum. That's not just Platinum.
Platinum, Platinum's only really responsible for like the combat.
Yeah, exactly.
in that game.
And that's not, it's a good part of the game. It is not the best part of the game.
Yeah.
The wackiness, craziness, insanity, I think that only comes from Yoko Taro actually works, and it's good. So, anyways, we're not here to talk about that one. We are here to talk about Astral Chain. What is an Astral Chain? Well, sit down for just a second. No, it is a stylish action game, but it is set in a futuristic kind of neo-noir. Think Blade Runner meets Tron. It's not an altogether unfamiliar setting. Yeah. You think of something like Blade Runner, but in a more realized, more anime. Think of my goodness, why can't I not Full Metal Jacket, but what is it called? The very, very popular anime movie, and they made a TV
Neon
show.
Genesis Evangelion.
There's Evangelion, but
Evangelion was a primary reference point for this in a lot of the Legion's designs. Are you thinking Ghost in the Shell?
Ghost in the Shell is exactly what I'm thinking. Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Think along the lines of something like Ghost in a Shell, in the Shell, which very, again, Blade Runner-esque. But that's the type of world that it's in. Although this game, so you play as, you don't play as a set of twins. You choose one of the twins who you want to play as, and you are basically a policeman in this neo-noir world. And there are things that are occurring all throughout the world where another plane of existence, an astral plane, as you will, is kind of breaking into the world that you are a part of. And in fact, that humanity has been quarantined into one specific area, and so there are these outbreaks, and you're trying to fight back against these outbreaks because there are creatures that are coming in through these outbreaks.
Well,
and I could be misremembering
the city that they live in.
Yep.
Is called the Ark.
Yep.
Like, and it has different like sectors and everything, but it is sort of the last bastion of humanity. I really like the cyberpunk neo noir.
Yeah.
That's a really good sort of reference point as far as like setting and tone. So it's like there's a whole bunch of like, basically sort of like, they talk about Redshift, and Redshift actually has like a couple different things. Like but it's basically when denizens of this astral plane sort of make incursions and enough exposure to sort of, there's like a residue or some sort of influence that these what do they call them? Daggone it. Like specters. That's not the right. I did like, this is what we get for recording late at night.
Right, because after you capture them, they're called legions, but before, chimeras. That's what
chimeras. Yes. So the chimeras, like, they can come and they sort of, and again, they sort of leave like this residue that can actually corrupt people as well. Like they can sometimes they'll kidnap people and pull them into the astral plane. Other times, like, they sort of leave like little bits, but like Redshift is the problem, but it's also, it's the Redshift is sort of like the inciting incident, and it's basically these creatures from the astral planes are invading it, but it also is kind of like a disease that like people can get. So like, anyways, yeah.
The special thing about your character and your sibling, because again, you play as a twin, is that I believe you were born in the astral plane, like your mother.
You were born in I want to say Sector 9. I don't know that the game really, but Sector 9 was closed off because it was sealed off from all the other cities because of like, it was basically, they basically kind of like lost it to the astral plane for a while. And there are still people that live there, but it's just such a problematic area that they're just like, like, nope, close the gates.
Not going to deal with it. Yeah.
We're not
And so
dealing with that. Yeah.
So you have a special connection in that you don't get sick from this astral material, and you eventually, through the means of early on in the game, you are able to bind a chimera, one of these beasts that comes through the astral plane. You're able to bind them with an astral chain, and now use them yourself as what's called a legion. So this is the creature that you can use to help you fight other astral, enemies and things along those lines. Sometimes you can use it in the real world as well to do different things, even just get around and things like that. So that's the basic premise. I like the basic premise to this game quite a bit. I think the world that you're in is pretty cool. I think the presentation is kind of surprising for a Switch game, an original Switch game. Like, I think it looks good. I think it's a cool feeling. It is very anime. So if you're not into anime, then you might not, you might just dismiss it outright. But I say that it's not the weird, it's not like an over sexualized anime or anything like that, but it is, uses some anime tropes in there. You have a mascot character for your police force, just stuff
Lappy.
like that. Yes, Lappy.
Hey,
which
and
is
just
funny.
as a point of clarification, I'm looking at the wiki here. The protagonist and the twin, who is named Akira. So like, if you can choose a male or a female. If you choose the male, the girl's named Akira. If you choose the female, dude's named Akira. They were born in Zone 9 to a red shifting mother.
Okay.
So
there you go.
So
yeah.
that's the circumstances. I don't know that the game ever really explains it, but like this is kind of like one of the downsides is that it's like you were talking about how like the setting is very cool. The story leaves a good bit to be desired.
Yes.
It's not terrible. It's better than just merely functional, but not by much. Like
it is absolutely nothing you have not seen before.
Yeah.
I completely agree. There's some twists and turns, but again, nothing you haven't seen coming, and nothing that'll be very surprising. And no, I would say in terms of storytelling, no overarching message that it's trying to tell you either. Surprisingly, there's not even like a humanist kind of deal. It's just like, well, we don't want to be wiped out, so we'll defeat the bad guys.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, the game itself doesn't really have anything to say. I do think that it's like, because it is steeped in a lot of, there is sort of like almost like a techno paganism kind of thing going on, and I think this is just like, I think common to like Japanese games in general. Like, even like Shin Megami Tensei or the Persona games is sort of like contracting with these like otherworldly powers. And like that's a pretty common theme, and that's not, I don't think that it's like, it's not, it's something, especially in light of, we're trying to be a little more sort of like pressing into this stuff. It's like, it's there. So like, there are sort of like these in this world, right? And in this perspective, and I'm not really sure what we would call the worldview or the position, but it doesn't seem like there are moral absolutes where it's like, because these chimera, they're bad, but if you put the collar on them, like, then you can use the bad thing for good. And it's kind of, what I'm saying? It's that moral grayness, and there's that kind of weird, like, I do think this tends to be sort of more of an Eastern sort of idea, where it's like, things aren't really like evil or good. It's just kind of how you use them. Like the yin and the yang kind of thing. It's more about like the balancing. So there is some of that, but again, I think it's something that it's not super prevalent. It's not like they hammer you with it or anything like that.
Right.
It's more of just, it's flavor. Be aware of it. The other thing I think though too, and is just to sort of preface this, is that there is a lot of like, and again, this might be translation work, so I don't, but there's like there's a lot of biblical sort of aspersions. Like even Legion is a bit of a loaded term. Like, what is your name? We are Legion because we are many. So there's that, and you're partnering with the legions, and even you sort of as the game progresses, like your character can wield, like it starts out and it's like everybody sort of has like they can wield a legion, but then it's like you know what I'm saying, like the characters, it's like, oh, like the main character sort of gains the ability to wield multiple legions, and it's kind of like that's kind of a but then even sort of like the fact that the city's called the Ark, and there's an entity that sort of reveals itself later on or is revealed later on in the game, Noah. Again, these sort of like these aren't exact, these are loaded terms, and so again, this is stuff where you might want to be just like if your sort of antennae go up in this, it's not insane, it's also, I don't think it's like super significant. It doesn't feel particularly malicious. It's just, again, this is sort of like the undercurrent. This is sort of like it's like there's that sort of weird, I don't know if it's Shintoism or whatever, but that sort of like Eastern mysticism sort of undergirds all of this, and then again, sort of even sort of using the biblical naming conventions and stuff like that. There's some loaded stuff in here that's, again, I don't think it's going to throw up any like major flags, but you do need, like, it's not a bad idea to take note of it.
Yeah, I would say that it really only goes skin deep, though. So while it does, something like the city being called the Ark because it's the last bastion of, like, all of the rest of humanity has been wiped out. Okay, that is a clear allusion to the Ark that saved,
that could
people.
be that could be like a choice from the translation team, because we are pretty Christian in orientation, and like a lot of people know about Noah and the Ark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's possibly. Like it has sort of like, they're like, oh yeah, we can sort of like use this to. Yeah, I don't think it's a significant. I don't think these are significant ties. They're just like, oh, like this is just like it's there.
Yeah, Ark is probably the most like actually significant, whereas I think Noah, and not to get too far into spoilers, but I think that Noah is more of a subversion of the archetype of the actual person, as opposed to actually trying to personify what Noah stood for when he built the ark, which was following after what God had said. So in salvation through the condemnation of the world. Anyways, so I do think that the overall story is a kind of a low mark in this game, because from the bit of digging around that I've done is that Platinum Games tends to build out their mechanics for the game and then come up with a story in order to introduce. Yes. Yeah. It is not that they had a story that they want to tell. It's that they're game makers. They want to make a cool game. And so they will kind of bolt together a story in order to accomplish, in order to put these pieces together of the game that they made. And that actually makes a lot of sense as you play through the game. And this is one of those parallels with the Wonderful 101, is that with the Wonderful 101, you gain characters throughout the course of your first playthrough. And I want to say it's like 12, 13 hours, something like that. So it's not a short game, or it's not a short in terms of action games. It's not a quick, like 4 or 5 hour action game. But it's a decent amount of time for a playthrough and for an action game. And you are almost every hour or two gaining a new ability And so you add that into the mix, and then, okay, you gain another ability, and then you see how these abilities work together all the way up until almost the very end of the game. And so by the very end of the game, now you have your full tool set of your wonderful 101 characters that you can use and the different things that you could do in the midst of battle. And the game is ranking you on your battles to see how much you're using all these different elements of the combat that it's given you. Astral Chain is very similar in that while it does not give you quite as many characters, it certainly gives you lots of different ways to use those characters. I was going to say abilities, but abilities are like equipables in this game. So the way that they throw out terms is a little unintuitive.
Yeah. Well, like, so there are 5 different legions that you potentially unlock, and in order to 100% the different missions, I don't think you need all of them for every mission, but until you have all of them, you can't 100% all the missions.
Right.
Because there's like certain pieces that are locked away, based on like certain characters or whatever. So
yeah, so it's made to be replayed. Your first playthrough is to get you comfortable with the systems of the game and to give you your tool set. So the first playthrough is basically a practice run if you want to get good at the game and you want to see everything that the game has for you. And this was similar with the Wonderful 101. So that carries over. Also, the way that you have both your character and your legion is you're controlling each one with a different stick. So it's a twin stick, kind of controlling 2 characters, kind of a deal. And is that correct?
Well,
you have to hold down a button, right?
The left trigger will sort of engage your legion controls.
Okay.
And you can steer them. So it's kind of one of those things, like you can just kind of click it, and whatever you're targeting, they'll sort of like zip out to that as far as their chain lets them. But then the other side of that is like, you can sort of like, if you hold it down, you can move them around and position them. So
yeah. And that is similar to the Wonderful 101. You have different abilities. Now, it was originally Wii U, and so you draw around on the tablet controller. You draw around your enemies in order to do these different things. So they do harken back in Astral Chain. Platinum Games harkens back to a number of their different games with their different legions, with some of the different things that you're doing. Your Sword Legion carries some of the mechanics over from Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. And the binding of enemies is something from Wonderful 101. There is a bit of like a slow down bullet time thing that's taken from, or at least used in Bayonetta, the witch time that you get in that game. So this game, Platinum uses some of the things that they've had in other games and squishes them together in order to create this new combat system that it has.
What I would say is that like the way that they utilize that sort of like that in Bayonetta, it's called witch time, but like that bullet time mechanic is frankly like I don't think it's great.
Okay.
In Astral Chain, I mean, it's one of the things that were like overall, I think like, and again, I think this game is pretty good, but I think it could have been great. And I think one of my biggest complaints is like in talking about like controlling 2 characters at the same time. And again, it's super easy for me to, I've had to think about this a good bit because I'm just like, something wasn't kind of sticking, but it's like sometimes the battlefields are so hectic that you can't always maneuver your legion the way that you would want to ideally. And I'm almost like, to me, I think one of the ways they could have improved this is that anytime you go to manually move your legion in combat, if they could have just zoomed out from the battlefield a little bit, like, I don't know, like, just showing you, giving you a little bit more tactical information about like different enemies on the field, and then just slow down time. by like
Mm-hmm.
50 to 75% or whatever. So that, and like give you sort of a slow down window of like 5 seconds so that you actually have like time to maybe maneuver. I feel like that probably would have, to me, I look at that and I'm like, I think that would have added an interesting wrinkle, because
Mm-hmm.
it did feel like sometimes you're just kind of like, you're trying to do something with the Legion, but then like you're like, I'm gonna move him over here, and then an enemy comes over and goes bonk. No, you're not. And it's like, so there is that. There's also sort of like these like sync attacks that you can queue up, and you
Mm-hmm.
can, there are multiple conditions, like, so sometimes it's like if you get knocked up in the air and you dodge at the right time, you can trigger one. Then it's like to sort
Mm-hmm.
of like break your fall. If you dodge an enemy attack, if you complete like a sequence of attacks, so it's like, you know you do like 6 attacks in a row or whatever, there'll be like this blue flash, and if you sort
Yeah.
of summon the Legion at that point in time, you'll do a sync attack. And that kind of like, that's a really interesting flavor. I do think it is like one of those things though where it does, the combat does like also feel, just because like all of your attacks are tied to the right trigger,
Mm-hmm.
like it just kind of it does feel very one note in a way, where it's, you're not like sort of interfacing with multiple buttons. Now there's timing, and there are some, like, you can do some things like where you do unlock moves where it's like you can like spin the stick and then hit the trigger, and he'll do like you have to unlock that, but like you
Mm-hmm.
can do like a 360 attack, and it's like you can unlock extra attacks for the different legions as well. But again, it's that sort of like, everything is so hectic
Mm-hmm.
sometimes in combat that you never really have the opportunity to utilize those things to great extent. It's like sometimes you can do it and you're like, oh, that feels really cool. And then, but it's also like, yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's just like, to me, I look at that as like that twin stick. I actually think it's really interesting, and when it
Mm-hmm.
works, like when it fires on, when you are firing on all pistons with it, it feels really really good. But the parts of it that are a little clunky and they're a little unweldy, kind of like, they do make it like, I think, and that's like one of the things that I think holds it back personally, in
Mm-hmm.
addition to the story, is that like combat feels pretty good, but it didn't, I feel like it's a little underbaked, maybe needed a little bit more
Okay.
time to cook or something. Like, it's really pretty good, but it's like, but with a little bit more like polish, a little bit more refinement, I think it could have been just not just merely good. I think it could have been like great.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's interesting. It's like, it's
Yeah.
an interesting take. Like, it's an interesting question. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
what if you did a character action game where you controlled 2 characters? You just, I'm not saying that's an easy question to answer, and I think what they have is really admirable, but it's also like, it's not nearly as elegant as I think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and part of that I think is because of its complexity, because you have so many options of your different legions at your disposal, of what you're going to do, how you're going to approach an attack, and things
mhm.
like that. And so, again, the game introduces you to new mechanics throughout your playtime and grows upon itself. So I think it attempts to encourage you to try different play styles, try different things, because it is so complex. And rather than kind of having you rest on your laurels of knowing one character and playing with that one character, I think it wants you to try using everything, which is not fully realized until kind of towards the end of the game.
Yeah. I think another thing that should be commended about this game is that there is a lot going on, and the game doesn't really do much hand holding, but it does give you the opportunity to, like, you can go, for most of the game, you can go into like a training room and practice
Right.
things.
Yeah.
So that is something to be commended. I just think the system is just inherently like a little wonky.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, and I think it would be helpful to take like a beat here to talk about the legions too. So
Okay.
your character, depending on, it actually doesn't matter, but you start out with the blade or the sword chimera or the sword legion, and he's just got basically 2 sword arms. And all of these legions, again, like I referenced the fact that like it's pretty much common knowledge that Neon Genesis Evangelions, like the Evas were actually sort of like design inspirations for the legions. Like, and you can see that, like, if you're looking at a legion and you look at like the pictures of the Evas, you're like, oh yeah, like, hey, they made mini Evangelions, and they gave you like a space chain to sort of like fling them around the map.
And just to interject for a second, I do believe that the character designer for this is a manga artist. Like they actually pulled in a manga. I can't remember. Masakazu Katsura apparently is his name. I'm not sure what he's done, but anyways, wanted to interject that since we're talking about the legions in particular. He did that.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, and it's cool. Like that's the thing, is like everything looks pretty cool. Like yeah, and you to a certain extent, like you can customize colors, and you can do all sorts of like crazy fun. Like, dude, I did do a fair amount, and by fair amount I mean probably a little excessive, of customization with my characters, not just the legions as far as like colors and things like that, but also my character's wardrobe.
Okay. Yeah.
I got a little like paper doll, fever going on there. I was like, oh, I can change the color of his jacket. Yes, I will do that.
Nice.
I can change the color of my legions. Yes, I will do that. And then I tried to, you got to make them coordinate. You can't just be looking like any old slob out there, man. Like, fashion is serious business. But so the 5 different legions, and you unlock they actually unlock at a pretty reasonable clip. Throughout just the gameplay. But it's the sword, the arrow or the bow legion, the arm legion, which is just and the sword and the bow legion, pretty self-explanatory.
Sure.
Like one's got sword arms and the other shoots arrows. Arm legion is like this dude who's got like no legs. He's just like a floating torso, and he's got 2 really big arms. Looks kind of cool, and he punches things really good.
Beast.
Well, and then there's Beast.
There's a different one. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking he
Arm,
is a beast, but yeah.
Arm is a beast, but there's actually a Beast Legion who kind of looks like a dog or a wolf or something.
Wolf.
And then there's Axe Legion, which is the last one you get, and he's got like he's bigger and slower than Sword, but he hits a lot harder, and he has some like cool abilities in addition. He also does like a shield bubble thing for you. And each one of these also has like, when you press L, not the left trigger, but just L, like the left bumper, you engage each one of them in a special mode. And so this is part of like, just like as you're going through the different levels, like sometimes you'll find puzzles. We talked about like the different pieces that the different legions can interact with. So some stuff like you can shoot with the arrow, with the bow. Some stuff like you can actually use the sword legions blades to disrupt certain locks or circuits or whatever. The arm, he's very strong, so he can like pick up doors that would normally be too, like he can open doors that would normally be too big or too heavy to open. He can pick up dumpsters and fling them. He kind of does that stuff. The Beast Legion can dig through piles of rubble. You can ride him to go really fast. And that part, actually, there was a part in the game that actually just absolute headaches, because it was like you sort of need to zip through this, like there's like, he's very fast, and so there were like these disappearing tiles, like you would step on them, and if you were on them too long, they would disappear. And so you had to sort of like navigate this little obstacle course with the Beast Legion, but he's so like, there's like no feathering the sticks with him at all. Like it's like you touch the stick at all, and like the Beast Legion is like, pew, like halfway across the screen.
Yeah.
And so it's like I overshot a platform like 6 times in a row, and then like, or like, and then I'd overcorrect. So I would like be tearing along, and sometimes I get hit by like a moving pillar or something, but like I'd hit the platform, and I just wouldn't slow down enough, and I just boop overshoot that platform, and then you have to do the sequence over again. And the one time, like a couple of times, it was like I overcorrected, and so I pulled back on the sticks a little bit, and then the beast was just like off the edge of the platform again, and commence frustrated language.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like the so with the arms guy, like you can, like when you do like the special mode, you can actually just sort of get like sucked up into his armor, and you can like float over like goo and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned how you can use your legions kind of in the real world as well, and that brings up something that we haven't talked about yet. I think we've pretty much covered most of the game, but in terms of a lot of the game is combat.
Mm-hmm.
And that generally takes place while you're in kind of the astral plane, this other realm of existence. But while you're in your regular world, going around the arc in the different sectors, you're a cop, you're a policeman.
Beat cop. Yep.
Yeah, and so you go. I mean, you'll have certain missions. They're chapters in the game, but you do try and do a little detective work as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're going around the city, you're talking to different people, trying to pick up some information to figure out whatever it is that you're trying to figure out.
Sometimes you have to detain perps.
Yep, that's right. And you do that with the help of your legion. You help bind them up and stuff like that. So the game kind of goes back and forth between these high intensity, battle arenas, or some minor kind of puzzle a la, Zelda, not full on dungeons, but like Zelda,
almost
shrines.
like the shrines.
Yeah, some of that, a little bit of puzzling and things like that. So you've got some puzzling, you've got some detective work and exploration, kind of world building through some of that stuff. Getting money and whatever, so you can upgrade stuff, and then you have your action.
And you're graded on like there's 12 chapters in the game, and you sort of earn these commendation points, which is like basically experience. And so based on the higher level you are, the higher your commendation level, the more health you get, and more energy you get. So and
It's definitely pushing you towards doing better.
And there's like stuff too, and it's like it's kind of like funny because it's like there's all sorts of little side quests that can pop up, and you have blue cases and red cases. Red cases are usually a little more involved. A lot of times they're actually, I think you have to usually clear out some red cases in order to progress the story sometimes.
Okay.
Blue cases are pretty much just side quests, and it's like, I lost my cat. Can you find my cat? And you can use like the Beast Legion to like get the scent and like, go find where little Mittens like is, hanging out in a dumpster now or something. So, so there's a lot of that, and those are like some of those sequences are really good, but like it's also kind of like one of those things where, some of the scenarios that there's a chapter, it's like chapter 7 or 8 in particular, where it's like you're sort of like you're cleaning up after a battle, and it's just a collection of a bunch of different mini games. And it's like, how many boxes can you carry these boxes over to this spot without tilting, without dumping them? And there's like this like dumb like tilting kind of like, it's like you have to hold your switch very still or your controller very still, and then but it uses the gyroscopes, and it's just like, I did not I did not appreciate that chapter. I was like,
Sure.
it did get it. You did get in like a cool sequence and a cool sort of like traversal sequence and a cool fight, but like the first 25 to 30 minutes of that particular chapter, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
this kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Yeah, they're definitely they're trying to throw some other things in there. Apparently there's a ton of side content that I did not pay very much attention to when I played through it years ago. But apparently this is quite a large game. There's more to do because, as you mentioned earlier, some of the stuff is locked behind legions that you don't have yet in the game. So the game is made to be replayed, and in order to get all the things in the game.
Just to give people an idea of what they're looking at for time, 20 hours to 21 hours to just play it, 80 plus hours to complete it, to do all the things.
Yeah.
So
there's quite a bit of content within the game for sure. I don't think there's any spoiler material to talk about. We haven't really given a thorough explanation of the story, but that's also because the story isn't, like we've already mentioned.
It's just not that interesting. It's pretty boilerplate. It's
like sci-fi, a little weird sci-fi out there, but there's no point in spoiling anything because you don't know who the characters are, and it's nothing you don't see coming already. So really, there's nothing to talk about. We've already spoiled all the legions. I just did scare quotes. Sorry, you can't see that. You might have seen that. Regardless,
well, dude, and it's like one of those things within the first hour of the game. You know that like you're gonna within the first hour or two of the game, you know that you're gonna get all
right.
Like you're introduced to all of them, and you're like, oh, like I'm gonna get to use that one at some point.
Yes. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I think, is there anything else that you wanted to mention about the game before we go into our too long?
Not especially. Like I think, like I said, I just did want to double down on this. I think this is a really good game. I've enjoyed my time with it. I do think that some of the boss encounters, like there are a few sequences that I find particularly obnoxious, but for the most part, it's like, listen, just don't make me run towards the screen ever. I also think the camera's not ideal. Like sometimes when you're trying to control the Legion and you can't move the camera just sort of like sticks behind the Legion, which makes sense, but it's also sometimes you need the camera to move so that you can put the Legion. That's kind of where I was like, I just wish that like you could just sort of zoom out a little bit and see a little bit more of the battlefield. But yeah, I think this is a really good game. I'm glad I played it. I think like I said, I think it's really good. It borders on being great, but unfortunately just some of the roughness sort of keeps it from really kind of like, being more than just pretty good. So, but I don't really have much else to say.
I'd say I largely agree. I think there are just things that hold the game back. I would take a bit of a different approach, though. I think the game actually, it gets better the longer that you play it.
Yeah.
The more that you get used to it, the more that you experiment with different the different elements that because it's very complex, the different elements within the game. And so I think it actually, it gets better the more that you play it, and it's made for being replayed. And so it does ask a lot of you. If you're willing to put that in, I think it is a very good, it's kind of like the harder and harder you work at it, the more it's polished, it comes through, and the more that it shines.
I don't know though, man. I think like, I mean, I get what you're saying, where it's like it is a game like that rewards your sort of like you digging into it.
Yeah.
I also think that that's sort of a failure in design, in my opinion, where it's like, that they can't sort of onboard you a little bit better. Like, and I do, like I said, I just do maintain that I think like just some elements are just like clunky. They're not as optimal as I think they could be or should be. Like it's just like, even when you're really good, like you remember that game Brothers? I think we did an episode on it years ago. Like Astral Chain definitely feels better than that in regards to like controlling two characters at the same time, but not by much. Like at times. And I think again, it's like, yes, there's a lot there, and the game does reward you for like paying a lot more attention, like for digging in. I just think overall it's still a little more clunky than it ought to be. It's not,
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's like, yes, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do, but the game doesn't really give you the tools or the time. Like the game's answer is like, oh, just come back, which is fine. But it's just, you have to like you're not able to experiment, on the fly. It's like we were talking about it. It's like there was a sequence, like there's these little pins that you can wrap the chain around, and they'll sort of like, you can sort of bend the chain around the corner, and it changes your line of travel. I was doing like a combat sequence, like like an arena. I was doing a fight, and I saw a bunch of those, and I was like trying to use them to sort of navigate the field. But again, it's that sort of like, because it is an action game and there's so much going on, that like every time I tried to do that, the game was like, oh no, here's an enemy, just like, and he just bonked you in the head and just threw off everything. So it's stuff like that. And even, I'm just like, oh, I do get what you're saying, where it is a game that like the more time you spend in it, the more custom with the systems, like it has a very high skill level, like skill ceiling. And so I just think that it's a little clunkier than it ought to be. I think like you could, as a developer, I feel like they could have like polished that and tweaked that, and it'd be still really interesting and a little more accessible, and not so like esoteric and kind of like inaccessible. But that's just me. That's just me. And maybe it's a skill issue. Maybe I'm just suck and need to get good. I don't know.
Well, I would say, learn different, dig into more of the different elements that are there. And I'm not saying that I did, because I did only do a single playthrough. And that was something earlier we talked about, how there's lots of extra content. There are actually boss fights that are hidden behind side content as well. So there is quite a bit of content in this game, if that's something that you are willing to go through, playing through multiple times. But all right, well, I think that is a good place to end kind of our long form conversation, but we do like to give just a short summary here as we finish up our thoughts on Astral Chain. So this is what we like to call the too long didn't listen. So I don't want to talk about you guys yakking for an hour about this game. What's the, just give me the down low on the game. So who made the game? It was Platinum Games made Astral Chain. Who should play Astral Chain?
I think this, and again, sort of keeping in mind that there is like some sort of like Shintoism, or that sort of that Eastern flavor. I don't think there's any content. I mean, maybe like an early teenager, I think, is probably, I think it's definitely for a little bit of an older crowd, and some of that is just like because of the mechanical complexity. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot going on there. But I also just think tonally, I don't know. I'd probably say early teens, probably at the earliest.
Yeah, I agree. If you're going for age, I mean, teenager, think rate the game, stamp a T on it according to the ESRB, and I think it's fine. I don't recall any embarrassing moments playing through the game,
No,
although it is
there's nothing.
heavily.
I did not experience anything where I was like, oh no, that's skeevy and gross. I
Yeah.
mean, there is sort of like some of the anime, it's not even like the weird fan servicey stuff, but just like some of the designs of women. It's like,
Sure.
oh yeah,
Yeah, proportions, things like that.
yeah,
There are ongoing gags. I think you're supposed to find, like, you're rewarded for finding a bathroom in every level, if I recall
toilet
correctly.
paper.
Okay, that's what it is. So, but I mean, it's just a gag. So that's nothing, like, that's not concerning to me. If asking who should play it, I would say if you're a fan of action games with complex combat systems, and then that's who should play it. Rated T.
Yeah.
What is it, and what should you keep in mind while playing it? Well, it's a complex action game. We already talked about that. What should you keep in mind?
It's a twin stick character action game.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I think it's like, it is kind of like there's just a lot going on, and your first pass, like, I think going into it, sort of just thinking about it, like, is that like your first pass is not going to, you're not going to be awesome. You're not going to be earning S ranks
right
all the time.
Yep.
I think the other thing, like I said, and again, from more of like sort of a worldview kind of thing, there is sort of a pretty significant, like, this stuff is like steeped in sort of like Eastern mysticism and that kind of thing. And so it's like this whole idea of like partnering with these otherworldly entities that give you unique powers, and it's like that's always like kind of like not awesome territory. And again, I think this is pretty shallow. It's set dressing, so it's not like, oh, but just as an idea, that's not like it's not my favorite. It's kind of like, so, but it doesn't really have much consequence in game, really.
Right.
So.
Right. And that again, we talked about this throughout the episode. Sorry, I guess I'm breaking out of our too long didn't listen thing. Is like, this is why I think there's potential for digging into some of those things, for digging into, what does it actually mean to have this partner that is actually an otherworldly being, that I'm chained to. Kind of like, the visual of that is very striking, but it doesn't go anywhere. And so if they were to actually dig into those things, I think there's lots of potential for that, but they don't in this game. Okay, back to too long didn't play. What should you keep in mind while playing? I'm going to go to the mechanics for this one, and that's just that if what you're doing is not working, think about other ways. Try and problem solve, because this game gives you so many options to tackle things. Try a different legion, try a different way of going about this. Try jumping on your beast and running away for a little bit, to get some distance between you and the enemy for a little bit and regroup. There's so many different things that you can do. So always think, if something isn't working, don't get stuck in a rut. Try something else. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, use the different legions.
Yeah.
Like, each one of them has different strengths and weaknesses. Like, you'll probably have a go-to, one or two go-tos.
For sure.
But yeah.
Next question is, what is the worldview of this game? You touched on it earlier. I kind of backtracking on what I said earlier, is that there is definitely a humanist bent, in that the value of humanity is portrayed throughout the game, in that, like, humanity is worth preserving. And that is something that you come up against when you're fighting, because there's a bad guy in this game. The bad guy does not believe so. Okay. And so at the base level, there is a value in preserving humanity, rather than either throwing it all away or resigning yourself to becoming something else because of this astral the astral place entity, not entity, but
the red matter, red shift kind of,
right?
The astral plane,
right?
All that stuff.
So there's that in the positive sense. There is that part of a worldview to it. outside of that, again, the game does not have much of a message. It's more of kind of an undercurrent of these things. That's simply taken for granted. It's challenged by the bad guys, but it is taken for granted that no, we ought to preserve humanity. As Christians, we understand that we're made in the image of God. And so the value, the worth that we have as humans is because God has created us and has uniquely made us to bear his image among all the rest of creation. That's not touched on in this game. It's simply assumed through, natural revelation. So outside of that,
I don't have anything to add to that. It's like,
Cool. So why does the game matter, and why is it on our top 100? I'll start because you may have some differing opinions here. Why does it matter? I think it is a special game because I don't know of any other game that tries to do what this game does in the multiple characters within this action game. I think it is very complex. It's not just the type of combat that you'd see in, say, another game that has fun combat, like a Batman Arkham game.
Well,
it's much deeper than that.
Even looking at something that we referenced at the top of the show is Platinum made that Transformers Devastation game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that combat's kind of like pretty one note.
Yeah,
this is not one note combat. This is,
I would say it's even more so than Nier Automata.
Yeah. It's got a couple different moving parts, and it takes a fair amount of time to get used to them.
Yeah. So in addition to this complex battle system, I think it's just cool and fun. I know that's very subjective. I liked the setting, even if they didn't go anywhere with it. It is stylish. Like it has lots of very impactful, in the terms of just presentation, impactful scenes, but not emotionally impactful. So I really enjoyed it. I would say, if we don't do 10 ratings out of 10, it's a 4 out of 5 game for me. I would pretty highly recommend it if you're a fan of action games. I don't think there's anything like it, particularly on the Switch. So that's why I think it matters, and why I had said that we should put it on our top 100. Now that you've played it, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd probably put it in that 7 or 8 out of 10 kind of category, just as far as like the scoring goes. I think, well, one, we don't have a lot of character action games on our list, really,
right,
besides this period. I think in addition to that, though, it is one of the more interesting. Like, we said this at the top of the episode, and just to sort of recap this, is like Devil May Cry sort of is like the pinnacle of that genre.
Yep.
Bayonetta is sort of comparable. And again, you have the issues with like the fan service and everything else with that game. But like, I think this is just the most interesting because like it just asks the most questions of the genre, like in the sense that like it's a fairly substantial question. It's not like, hey, like what kind of cool like combat like mechanic can we sort of jam into this thing? It's like the question is, what if you're playing a character action game with two characters at the same time? And even though like I have said like I don't think the system is perfect, I think it's pretty good. And I did have frustrations and complaints, but overall I think it's an interesting concept, and it's executed pretty well. So
yeah. Awesome. The final question is, where can you find it? Well, it was published by Nintendo, so it is only available on Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, of course, because that backwards compatibility stuff. I've heard that it's a little more difficult to find physical copies nowadays. They might not be stocking it, they may not be making it, but it is digitally available on the Nintendo eShop.
Just as a bit of a note too, like I know that the that the Switch version played pretty well for all intents and purposes. Like it's one of those sort of like it's kind of like one of those games like people are like I'm not, like when I was talking to Parker about it, he's like, I'm not even sure how my Switch ran this game.
Yeah.
What I will say is that I think on the Switch 2, it's actually a really seamless experience. Like it's
awesome,
steady frame rate. It feels good, plays well. Loading times are pretty quick. So Switch 2 continues to sort of be like the best place to play your Switch games.
Yeah. Awesome.
So.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's a great place to end our conversation on Astral Chain. It is getting late, but we do have a few more forms that we would like to fill out, that we would like to accomplish before we send you off into your next podcast or YouTube video or whatever. The first of those forms is simply our shout outs. I would like to shout out friend of the show. He was on just a few episodes ago, the Techno Funk Boy himself. We've got, I'll just say he's a friend of ours. Sometimes he shares some spicier memes that is not general public consumption. But he did share one over the weekend, particularly that had to do with, I'll try and be vague here, with some church stuff, with some stuff going on in the world. And it did give me a little bit of a push to consider my pastoral responsibilities. And I think it paid off very well in conversations that I had with the lead pastor at the church and some stuff that we do. So my shout out is Techno Funk Boy, because even in the midst of spicy memes, it's very beneficial. Iron sharpens iron. So thank you, Techno Funk Boy.
Yeah. The shout out I want to give is it's not because he did anything, I mean, it's obviously he had to contribute something, but like his wife did all the work. But friend and patron, Spike, the imposter Nate, who tries to steal my identity all the time. I see you, fake Nate. I see you. But they just had a little boy. And so congratulations, little baby Spike.
Yeah.
Hopefully your dad will make better decisions.
All right.
That's my shout out. Congrats, Spike.
Nice. Yes. Congratulations.
Welcome to the world, little baby Spike.
I don't know. Spike be spiky. I don't even know what to say. Awesome. Well, before we get out of here, we do have a final form, and that final form comes in the form of a question, and that question is, what is your question? What is your question for us? Well, funny enough, we only had one question that we can really answer on the podcast submitted to us. And so
I do have an honorable mention. And it's mostly just because it was like these two gentlemen probably thought they were very clever when they said this.
So. Okay, what's your honorable mention?
So the question actually comes from Spike, where he says, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
What are you doing? And now he's got
we're trying to answer questions,
exclamation
point,
course. Question mark. So it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, we're trying to answer questions.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the segment.
Sojourner, though, responded to that and said, I've been waiting 2 weeks to answer this question. So I'm just going to say, I bet you boys thought you were real clever.
Yeah. So, well done. But the real question comes from McKelvis in the Discord. He asks, if you know that a game will make you mad or even has a chance to make you mad when you play it, do you think we should avoid it altogether? Thinking from a Christian perspective. Okay. So my off-the-cuff answer to this is simply, yes, you should definitely take that into account. If you, and I'm going to turn this around, if you have a difficult time controlling yourself while you play a game, i.e. make you, so what it just, if it raises your heart rate, okay, that's a different thing. But if it makes you mad and you recognize that you have an issue with controlling yourself while playing a video game, then I don't think you should put yourself in, intentionally put yourself in that position. My caveat to that is, because I've gotten mad plenty of times playing video games, my caveat to that is that if you know that a game makes you mad, you can be more diligent in making sure that you are combating your anger. So if I know that that this Dark Souls boss, I'm going to lose, 10 times to it, then I can make the conscious decision, okay, I'm going to fight against feeling as though I'm wasting my time or whatever it is particularly about that's making me mad, and just try and view things from a different perspective in order to conquer this next, whatever it is about this game. If you're talking about something like Warzone, Call of Duty Warzone, something like that, and it just makes you mad because there are people that are way better than you, I'm not sure a way to get around that, and maybe you should just put it down. So I would actually lean more heavily towards answering this question in the, if you can't control yourself and it makes you mad, then you probably shouldn't be playing it for your own sake, for the sake of your soul. Because I know for myself, sometimes there can be residue from that makes me irritable towards other people, and then you've completely wasted the opportunity to enjoy recreation. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah. I'm just gonna sort of jump on and say, yeah, pretty much that. Like, if it's sort of like the Dark Souls kind of mad, where it's like that's different because like that's the whole thing. The whole loop is like, hey, you get good enough to beat the thing that you couldn't beat, and it's like, and it kind of fosters that a little bit of grittiness, like, but like, just sort of out myself, like, I've been off and on again with Snap, and it's pretty much that game is not good for me. Probably should, at the very least, I should not have it on my phone, which is not always the case. So there's a little bit of discernment there. But as a general rule, I would just say, like, hey, like, if you know that the game's going to make you mad, just don't play it. Like, just, but that's me. So.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, if you have more thoughts on Astral Chain or about games that make you mad, we'd love to hear your thoughts. There's tons of ways you can reach out to us. All of those ways are listed on our link tree, which is linktree.com/the Backlog Breakdown. Go check that out. We love to hear from you, and come play Dredge and Earth Defense Force with us. Play some sort of spooky games. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, but we'd love to hear from you. Your feedback is always good to hear and fun, and we enjoy it. So go do that.
Yeah. I'm dying.
Oh no,
I'm so tired. I'm so tired at this point.
We're done.
I am dead.
Well, you know what? It works out great because we've done all the things that we came to do.
And until next time, Josh, what should they do?
Guys, keep beating down your backlogs, and we'll keep breaking down the benefits.
Bye.
Peace.